When the stars went silent, the crystal spires of Ethros reached toward the twin suns like frozen music. Ambassador Nira stood on the highest observation deck of the Harmony Tower, watching the morning light dance across her city. Her silver skin shimmered with patterns that showed her contentment. The Zephyrians had built their civilization on the principles of peace and artistic expression. For over 5,000 years, they had never known war. Nira's people were tall and graceful, with elongated limbs and large, gentle eyes that could see across multiple light spectrums. Their technology was based on harmonic resonance, using sound and vibration to power everything from their floating vehicles to their quantum computers. The very air around Ethros hummed with their peaceful energy. The communication crystal on Nira's desk began to pulse with an urgent blue light. She touched it gently, expecting to hear about the daily matters of diplomacy and trade. Instead, her chief scientist's voice filled the chamber, trembling with fear. "Ambassador, we need you in the observation center immediately. Something terrible is happening in the outer system." Nira moved swiftly through the corridors of the Harmony Tower. Other Zephyrians stopped their work to watch her pass, sensing the disturbance in her harmonic aura. The observation center was filled with her best scientists and advisors, all staring at the massive holographic display that showed their solar system. Dark shapes moved between the outer planets like a spreading infection. The ships were unlike anything in the Zephyrian databases. They appeared to be alive, with surfaces that pulsed and writhed like diseased tissue. Some were as large as asteroids, covered in what looked like organic weapons. Others were smaller, but moved with predatory grace. Chief Scientist Kyle stepped forward, his normally calm voice shaking. "They appeared 3 hours ago, emerging from what we thought was empty space. Our sensors cannot properly identify their composition, but they seem to be part machine, part living organism." On the display, the alien vessels had surrounded the mining station on Kepler-7. The Zephyrians watched in horror as tendrils of dark energy reached out from the ships, wrapping around the station. Within minutes, the entire structure began to dissolve, its material flowing into the invading vessels like water. "They're not just destroying our installations," another scientist reported. "They're absorbing them, converting all the matter into part of their own ships." Nira felt her harmonic patterns shift to deep purple, the color of profound distress. The Zephyrians had peaceful relationships with dozens of species across their sector of the galaxy. Never had they encountered anything like this. The first defense ships arrived within the hour. The Zephyrian vessels were beautiful works of art, their hulls shaped like flowing musical notes and powered by harmonic engines that sang as they moved. They fired their resonance weapons, sending waves of pure sonic energy toward the invaders. The weapons struck the alien ships directly, causing ripples across their living surfaces. For a moment it seemed the attack had worked. Then the organic hulls began to adapt, changing their frequency to match and absorb the harmonic energy. The Zephyrian weapons became useless. Worse, the invaders began to learn. Each ship that absorbed the sonic attacks became stronger, their own weapons starting to emit twisted versions of Zephyrian harmonics. The peaceful songs of the defenders became screams of agony as their own technology was turned against them. The battle moved inexorably toward Ethros. The alien fleet grew larger with each victory, consuming not just ships and stations, but entire asteroids, converting everything into more of their biomechanical forms. They left nothing behind but empty space. Captain Thane, the head of Ethros Defense, appeared on Nira's communication screen. His ship was badly damaged, its beautiful curves marred by acidic burns. "Ambassador, we cannot stop them. They adapt to every weapon we use and grow stronger with each attack. Our evacuation ships are trying to get civilians off-world, but these creatures are too fast." Through the observation center's windows, Nira could see the enemy fleet approaching. The ships blotted out the stars like a living darkness. Some had grown to enormous size, their biomass clearly composed of consumed Zephyrian technology, and she didn't want to think about what else. The largest ship in the swarm was a nightmare beyond imagination. It resembled a massive jellyfish made of metal and flesh, with countless tentacles that stretched for miles. Smaller vessels swarmed around it like parasites or perhaps offspring. As Nira watched, the creature ship opened what could only be described as a mouth, revealing rows of teeth made from crystallized starship hulls. "How long do we have?" Nira asked. 18 hours until they reach orbital position, Captain Thane replied. "Perhaps 6 hours more until they can begin consuming the planet itself." Nira looked around the observation center at her people's greatest minds. These were beings who had mastered quantum harmonics, who could make matter dance to the rhythm of cosmic songs. Yet they were helpless against an enemy that consumed and corrupted everything it touched. Dr. Lisa, the eldest of the Science Council, spoke up. "There is one possibility, Ambassador. We could send a distress signal using our quantum harmonic transmitters. The message could reach across the galaxy within hours." Several advisors shook their heads. "Who would risk their lives for strangers?" one asked. "Any species advanced enough to help us would also be wise enough to stay away from these creatures." But Nira felt a spark of desperate hope. What if we offered something valuable in return? Our harmonic technology, our art forms, our mathematical discoveries. Everything we've learned in 5 millennia of peace. The debate was brief. Outside, the first enemy scouts were entering the atmosphere, their presence causing the planet's harmonic field to distort and scream. The beautiful crystal cities began to resonate with painful frequencies as the alien influence spread. Nira made the decision that would change everything. Prepare the quantum transmitter for galaxy-wide broadcast. Use every frequency we know, every mathematical constant that might indicate intelligence. The massive harmonic array emerged from the Harmony Tower, its crystalline structures singing with power, but the energy required would drain their remaining planetary shields. Ethros would be defenseless. "Then we die trying to save others rather than cowering in silence," Nira said. She stood before the transmitter, knowing her words might be the last her species ever spoke to the galaxy. Her voice carried the full harmonic range of her people, creating music even in desperation. "This is Ambassador Nira of the Zephyrian Republic. Our world is dying. An enemy beyond our understanding has come to our system. We are a peaceful people who have harmed no one. Our children hide while our cities fall to creatures that devour everything they touch. We offer all our knowledge, all our art, all our friendship to anyone who can help us. Please, if you can hear this, we do not have long." The signal raced across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds, carried by quantum harmonics that could cross vast distances instantly. It passed through nebulae and around black holes, through the territories of dozens of species, until finally it reached a small blue planet on the edge of what its inhabited ants called the Milky Way. Dr. Marcus Webb was finishing his night shift at the Arecibo Deep Space Monitoring Station. Earth's most sensitive radio telescopes had been scanning the cosmos for 40 years. His coffee had gone cold hours ago as he monitored the endless stream of data from space. Then, at 3:47 a.m., something changed. The computers detected a signal unlike anything in their databases. Complex patterns of modulated frequencies that carried mathematical relationships no natural phenomenon could create. The alien voice was hauntingly beautiful, even filtered through the translation programs. Within minutes, Marcus understood he was listening to a dying civilization's final plea for help. His hands shook as he reached for the emergency contact button. The call went directly to the Pentagon, then to the White House, then to emergency sessions of the United Nations Security Council. Within 6 hours, every major world leader was gathered in the UN building in New York, staring at screens showing the translated alien message. President Sarah Mitchell of the United States leaned forward in her chair. "Are we absolutely certain this is genuine?" Dr. Webb, hastily flown in from Puerto Rico, nodded emphatically. "The mathematical structures are too complex to fake. The harmonic patterns show clear signs of advanced physics beyond our current understanding. This is real, and these people are dying." General Patricia Hayes, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, studied the star charts displayed on the Situation Room screens. The signal originated from the Vega sector, approximately 26 light-years from Earth. Our fastest conventional ships would take decades to reach them. Then they'll be dead long before we arrive, said UN Secretary General Chen Wei. What's the point of this discussion? Admiral James Morrison stood up from his position at the back of the room. Until now, the quiet naval officer had remained silent, but his next words would change human history. We have other options. The room fell silent. Everyone knew about the rumors, the whispered stories of secret military projects and experimental technologies, but nobody spoke of them openly. President Mitchell looked directly at the Admiral. What are you saying? Project Starbridge, Madam President. The experimental faster-than-light ships we've been developing in the outer system. They could make the journey in 3 weeks. The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. Several world leaders looked genuinely surprised, while others seemed to have suspected such programs existed. Dr. Elena Vasquez, head of NASA's Theoretical Physics Division, leaned forward. The quantum displacement drives. I've heard whispers, but I thought they were just theoretical. Admiral Morrison activated a classified hologram that showed sleek, angular ships unlike anything the public had ever seen. We've been testing them for 7 years. The drives can fold space-time itself, creating temporary wormholes for faster-than-light travel. But there are risks. What kind of risks? President Mitchell asked. The drives could destabilize, tearing apart the ship's hull. The crew could be lost in dimensional space, or we could accidentally create a gravitational anomaly that destroys the entire fleet. Secretary General Chen stood up. You're asking us to send experimental ships with unproven technology to fight aliens we know nothing about? Admiral Morrison pulled up another display, showing intercepted radio signals from the direction of Vega. Sir, we've been monitoring that sector since receiving the distress call. We're detecting signs of massive destruction across multiple star systems. This enemy isn't just attacking one world. They appear to be consuming entire civilizations. The room went quiet as the implications sank in. On the screens, dead solar systems showed the aftermath of whatever had destroyed the Zephyrians' neighbors. General Hayes spoke up. At their current rate of expansion, these creatures will reach human space within 50 years. We can either fight them there or wait for them to come here. General Hayes spoke up. At their current rate of expansion, these creatures will reach human space within 50 years. We can either fight them there or wait for them to come here. President Mitchell walked to the large windows overlooking Manhattan. The morning sun was rising over the city, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Somewhere out there, across impossible distances, people were dying while their children hid in fear. She thought about her own daughter, safely asleep in the White House residence. What kind of world would she inherit? One where humanity cowered in isolation, or one where they stood up for what was right? Captain Sarah Chen had been listening from the military liaison section. She was young for a fleet commander, only 34, but had proven herself in the recent asteroid mining conflicts. Finally, she spoke up. Madam President, I volunteer to lead the mission. Everyone turned to look at her. Admiral Morrison frowned. Captain Chen, you don't understand the full risks involved. I understand that there are people out there asking for help, and we have ships that might save them. The choice seems clear to me. President Mitchell studied the young officer's determined face. It's not that simple, Captain. If we send the fleet and fail, Earth loses its most advanced ships and crews. If we succeed but reveal our capabilities, we might make ourselves a target. Dr. Webb stepped forward. Madam President, there's something else to consider. These Zephyrians have offered to share their technology with whoever helps them. The harmonic sciences alone could advance human physics by centuries. The debate continued for hours as reports came in from deep space monitors. The alien signal had gone silent, replaced by the screaming harmonics of a dying world. Time was running out. Finally, President Mitchell made the decision that would launch humanity into the galaxy. Admiral Morrison, authorize Operation Starbridge. I want our most advanced fleet ready to depart within 72 hours. The room erupted in activity as military leaders began coordinating the largest space mission in human history. But Captain Chen remained focused on the silent speakers that had carried the Zephyrian plea. Somewhere out there, people were dying, And for the first time in human history, Earth was going to answer a call for help from the stars. Deathworlders unleashed. The hidden shipyards orbiting Jupiter had never seen such activity. For 7 years, Project Starbridge had been humanity's most classified secret, developing faster-than-light technology in the cold darkness beyond Mars. Now, 200 of Earth's most advanced warships prepared for humanity's first interstellar military operation. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the final preparations through the massive viewports. Her ship was the flagship of the fleet, a kilometer-long beast of angular armor and experimental weapons. Unlike the graceful curves of science fiction, these ships looked exactly like what they were, weapons built by a species that had learned warfare in the harshest environment in the galaxy. Earth was what xenobiologists would classify as a death world, a planet so violent and unpredictable that most species would consider it uninhabitable. Humans had evolved surrounded by predators, natural disasters, diseases, and endless competition for resources. That background had shaped everything about their approach to technology and warfare. "Captain, all ships report ready for quantum displacement," announced Lieutenant Torres from the navigation station. The young officer couldn't hide his excitement. They were about to make history. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled over the communications system from Arth Command. "Starbridge Fleet, you are authorized for immediate departure. Remember, this is not just a rescue mission. You are representing humanity's first contact with an alien civilization." Captain Chen activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Defiance Actual. In 30 seconds, we jump to coordinates provided by the Zephyrian distress signal. Our mission is simple. Save whoever is left and destroy whatever is killing them. Earth expects us to do the impossible. Let's not disappoint." The quantum displacement drives charged with a sound like reality tearing. Space around the fleet began to warp and fold, creating geometric patterns that hurt to look at. Then, with a flash of light that could be seen from Earth, 200 human warships vanished into the void between dimensions. The journey through folded space took 18 days of subjective time, though the universe outside experienced only minutes. Captain Chen spent the time studying everything they knew about the enemy. The creatures called themselves the Devourers. In the fragmentary transmissions Earth's monitors had intercepted, they appeared to be part of a hive mind that consumed entire civilizations, adding their knowledge and technology to a collective consciousness. Dr. Amanda Price, the fleet's xenobiologist, had been analyzing the alien signals. "Captain, these things aren't just conquerors. They're literally eating entire species, incorporating their biology and culture into something completely new. Every world they take makes them stronger and more adaptable." When the human fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the Zephyrian system, they found a graveyard. The twin suns still shone, but everything else was wrong. Planets hung in space like stripped bones, their surfaces scoured clean of all organic matter. The beautiful cities and crystal structures the Zephyrians had built were gone, consumed by an enemy that left nothing behind. "Scanning for survivors," reported Commander Jackson from the sensor station. "I'm picking up faint power signatures in the asteroid D-belt. Someone's hiding out there." The fleet moved cautiously through the devastated system. Debris fields marked the locations of ancient battles, twisted metal sculptures that had once been Zephyrian ships. But there, hidden in the shadow of a large asteroid, a small cluster of ships maintained minimal power. Captain Chen opened a communication channel on the frequencies the distress signal had used. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Fleet. Are there any Zephyrian survivors receiving this transmission?" The response came in the hauntingly beautiful harmonics they had heard in the original message, now translated by the ship's computers. This is Ambassador Nira. We thought no one would come. We thought we were alone." The meeting took place aboard the human flagship. Ambassador Nira and her surviving people were unlike anything humans had imagined. Tall and graceful, with silver skin that shifted in patterns reflecting their emotions, they moved like living music, but their harmonic auras showed only deep trauma and grief. "There are perhaps 3,000 of us left," Nira explained. her voice carrying harmonics that made the humans' hearts ache with sympathy. The Devourers came without warning. Our people had no concept of such evil. They consumed everything, converting our own technology against us. Captain Chen leaned forward in the conference room. Where are they now? Gone, we believe. They stripped our system of all useful matter and moved on, but our long-range sensors detected their fleet heading toward the Centauri cluster. 12 inhabited worlds lie in their path. Dr. Price studied the alien data with growing horror. Captain, according to this, the Devourers have been moving through this part of the galaxy for over a century. They've destroyed at least 40 civilizations. 40 species, Nira whispered. All their art, their music, their children, all feeding the hunger of the collective. General Hayes, who had accompanied the fleet as overall mission commander, stood up. Ambassador, we need to understand exactly what we're fighting. Can you show us? The holographic display activated, showing the Devourer fleet as the Zephyrians had last seen them. The biomechanical ships writhed and pulsed like living tissue, their surfaces incorporating elements from dozens of consumed civilizations. The largest vessels were nightmare amalgamations of organic matter and stolen technology. They adapt to everything, Nira explained. Every weapon used against them becomes part of their knowledge. Every ship they destroy makes them stronger. That is why no species has been able to stop them. Captain Chen studied the alien monsters with the calculating eye of a predator. Humans had evolved on a world where adaptation was everything, where the ability to change tactics meant the difference between life and death. These creatures thought they were the ultimate adapters, but they had never faced Deathworlders. General Hayes, Chen said quietly, I think we need to show them what Earthborn ingenuity looks like. The human fleet spent 3 days preparing for battle, using tactics no alien civilization had ever considered. While other species built their technology around harmony and efficiency, humans had learned to create weapons from anything available. Their ships carried not just energy weapons and missiles, but mining charges, industrial solvents, and even basic kinetic projectiles, accelerated to near light speed. Dr. Price worked with the surviving Zephyrian scientists to understand the Devourers' biology. Captain, they're not just machines or purely organic. They're something in between, using biological processes to control mechanical systems. But that means they might have biological vulnerabilities. What kind of vulnerabilities? Every organic system has limits. Toxins that disrupt cellular processes, frequencies that interfere with neural networks, even simple things like extreme temperature variations. Captain Chen smiled grimly. Doctor, you just gave me an idea. The Devourer fleet was detected 3 days later, approaching the Kepler system where 8 million peaceful aliens lived on floating cities above a gas giant. The biomechanical swarm had grown since leaving Zephyrian space, now numbering over 600 vessels of various sizes. The human fleet waited in the shadow of Kepler's largest moon, their ships powered down and virtually invisible. Captain Chen watched as the Devourers began their familiar pattern of consumption, surrounding the alien cities with tendrils of dark energy. All ships, this is Defiance Actual, she broadcast. Operation Deathworld is now active. Remember, we're not just fighting for the Keplers. We're fighting for every species these things plan to consume, including humanity. The attack began with something the Devourers had never encountered: deception. Human ships emerged from hiding not as a coordinated fleet, but as apparently damaged vessels fleeing in panic. The biomechanical creatures, programmed to pursue and consume, followed eagerly into what appeared to be a rout. They flew directly into the most effective trap in human military history. The fleeing ships suddenly stopped and opened fire, but not with energy weapons the Devourers could adapt to. Instead, they fired millions of tiny projectiles, simple pieces of metal accelerated to incredible speed by magnetic railguns. The kinetic bombardment tore through biomechanical hulls like bullets through tissue. The Devourers tried to adapt, growing armor plating to deflect the projectiles. The humans immediately switched to high-explosive missiles that detonated before impact, filling space with clouds of superheated shards. Apnel. When the Devourers adapted to explosives, the humans switched to acid-based chemical weapons that ate through organic components. When they adapted to acids, the humans used extreme cold, freezing biological systems until they shattered like glass. "They're trying to adapt to everything at once," reported Dr. Price from her monitoring station. "But human weapons don't follow any pattern. Each attack is completely different from the last." The largest Devourer ship, the nightmare jellyfish entity that served as the fleet's command vessel, began broadcasting frantic signals to its scattered forces. For the first time in over a century, the Devourers were losing a battle. Captain Chen watched the alien command ship struggling to coordinate its forces. "All ships, concentrate fire on the big one. Time to cut off the head of the snake." The human fleet converged on the command vessel like a pack of wolves. Every ship fired something different: kinetic rounds, plasma torpedoes, nuclear warheads, even repurposed mining lasers. The biomechanical monster tried desperately to adapt to the constant stream of different attacks, its living hull shifting and changing in real time. But adaptation took time, and humans had learned long ago not to give their enemies that luxury. Before the Devourer could adjust to one weapon, 3 more different attacks were already incoming. The command ship's death scream echoed across every frequency as its biomechanical systems finally collapsed under the relentless, unpredictable assault. The creature's massive form broke apart, releasing clouds of organic matter that had once been dozens of different alien species. Without their command vessel, the remaining Devourers fell into chaos. The hive mind that had controlled them flickered and died, leaving individual ships vulnerable to the human fleet's continued attacks. Within 6 hours, the entire swarm was destroyed. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, watching debris from the biomechanical fleet drift through space. For the first time in over a century, the Devourer's expansion across the galaxy had been stopped. Ambassador Nira's voice came over the communication system, her harmonic patterns showing amazement and gratitude. "Captain Chen, we have monitored your battle. Never have we seen such creative warfare. Your people fought like no species we have ever encountered." "That's because no species evolved where we did," Chen replied. "Earth doesn't create peaceful philosophers, Ambassador. Earth creates survivors who will use anything available to protect what they care about." The rescue of the Kepler cities proceeded smoothly, with human medical teams working alongside Zephyrian healers to treat the survivors. But the real work was just beginning. Intelligence gathered from the Devourer ships revealed the locations of other swarms scattered across the galaxy. Dr. Price approached Captain Chen with a datapad full of troubling information. "Captain, we found something in the command ship's organic computers. The Devourers weren't just random destroyers. They were scouts for something bigger." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. Bigger how? The biomechanical ships were sending information back to a central location somewhere in the galactic core. "There's an entire civilization out there that views other species as nothing but resources to be harvested." Admiral Morrison's voice crackled over the long-range quantum communicator from Earth. "Starbridge Fleet, you have new orders. Establish a permanent base in the Zephyrian system. Earth is sending additional ships and supplies. It appears our galaxy has more threats than we realized." 3 months later, the first human starbase was operational in orbit around the slowly recovering world of Eth. Rose, Zephyrian, and human scientists worked together, combining harmonic technology with Deathworld engineering to create defensive systems unlike anything the galaxy had seen. 3 months later, the first human starbase was operational in orbit around the slowly recovering world of Ethros. Zephyrian and human scientists worked together, combining harmonic technology with Deathworld engineering to create defensive systems unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ambassador Nira stood beside Captain Chen in the starbase's observation deck, watching human and Zephyrian ships patrol together through space that had once seemed hopeless. "Your people have given us something we thought was lost forever," Nira said, her harmonic patterns showing deep gratitude. "Hope." "We've given each other something better than hope," Chen replied. We've given each other allies. As the two species worked to rebuild what the Devourers had destroyed, long-range sensors detected new threats moving through distant parts of the galaxy. But for the first time in over a century, civilizations across the stars had something they'd never had before: Deathworlders willing to answer the call for help. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, not through conquest, but through the simple act of helping those who needed it most. And in a universe full of predators and prey, the galaxy was about to learn why Earth was classified as a death world, and why that classification made all the difference.